Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. Wow, post-fight with Felix Verdejo taking his first ever professional loss at the hands of Antonio Lozada Jr. Crazy. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest in boxing. If you want to become part of the gang notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the super chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, and the Patreon family. Top Rank has a card headlined by Amir Imam versus Jose Ramirez, and this is in New York, Madison Square Garden. Make sure you guys check it out on the ESPN app. Also on ESPN, the television network. If you have basic cable, you should have ESPN. It's the only real big fight card on. Felix Verdejo, former 2012 Olympian, just got stopped in the 10th and final round of his comeback fight against a little-known Antonio Lozada Jr. from Tijuana, Mexico. Now, boxing has historically given us some great wars. Mexico versus Puerto Rico. This was a good fight. I'm not going to say it's a classic or like anything like that, but just a good rivalry. Bad, in my opinion. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. I actually didn't watch the fight live because I was live streaming, so I had to go back and check it out. But Verdejo has been out and absent for 13 months. Terrible, terrible comeback fight. Listen, I'm not trying to generalize like Abel Sanchez did with black fighters, but from what boxing has showed us, and this is not a negative generalization, but a lot of Mexican fighters are tough. Not all. We've seen Mexican fighters that are tough. I've seen ones that have quit. But there's a lot of guys that are tough. And just from the face-off and the weigh-in, you could tell that this Lozada Jr. looked bigger. Now, just looking bigger is not necessarily going to mean that it equates to power. But even if you look at his record, given his competition, which is limited, it's not like Lozada Jr. had crazy names on his resume, but he's a guy who had lost before twice. He'd been stopped once out of the 2 losses, but it looks like he has some good pop. He has an 80% knockout ratio if you check his box rec. From Tijuana, and more importantly, your star that you're trying to build, Felix Verdejo, is fighting a guy who's physically, to the eye test, bigger than you, good knockout percentage, and you're coming off a 13-month layoff, which who knows what Felix Verdejo was doing in that time. And we do know he was in a motorcycle accident, so I'm sure that kept him away, and that's part of the reason he's been away from the sport. So bad fight to come back to, like just a tough guy who, from the eye test, bigger, good knockout ratio, and he pulled the upset. He got the knockout in the 10th round. Doctors waved it off after Felix Verdejo touched canvas, got hit with the left hand, I believe, got back up, tried to survive, but he still got hit with some big shots. Doctor didn't like the punishment that he was receiving, and they waved it off. And Felix Verdejo's team didn't look like they were tripping off of the stoppage. You didn't see immediate protest or anything from Felix Verdejo. Just like when Kovalev got stopped by Ward, you didn't hear Kovalev really complain about it until the post-fight press conference, when he had some time to think about it, go back to the locker room and stuff. So when guys don't protest right then and there on the spot, a lot of times it's because they're exasperated, gassed out, or badly hurt. They don't have their full senses to them. Because if you weren't badly hurt, I've seen it. Like, you look at even Carl Froch versus George Groves, the first fight. George Groves was pissed that the referee stopped it because although he had got buzzed, he was still in the fight. Carlos Takam immediately protested with Anthony Joshua when they stopped the fight because he got hurt, got caught with some shots, but he was still in there and he was still cognizant. Felix Verdejo looked defeated. I was looking in his eyes. He took big shots. It was a good stoppage. Plus, I told you guys when it came to the Wilder-Ortiz fight, the New York, when they did the concussion protocol for Wilder, New York is not playing. They lost a major lawsuit against Magomed Abdusalamov and family because he's been permanently left brain damaged. Fighting in New York, it didn't get stopped. So fair stoppage. You know you're fighting in New York, which maybe is a little bit stricter with the protocol. But at the end of the day, it's up to the fighter to make smart decisions, i.e. Floyd Mayweather versus Shane Mosley when hurt. Felix Verdejo didn't do it. Perfect stoppage. Shout out to Antonio Lozada Jr. Shout out to Tijuana. major setback for Felix Verdejo. Very unfortunate too, because this is a 2012 Olympian. This is a guy that even on my channel, I'm like, man, this kid from Puerto Rico. Shout out to the Boricuas. I was like, this guy might be the next big thing. This was a couple years ago, but as it happened, you never really seen Felix Verdejo seem to keep stepping up and keep gaining steam. It's like almost like his performances got worse. Like at first I was like, man, this kid has good power and stuff. And then he fought that guy. I think he was a hairdresser. I'm not being funny or facetious. He literally fought a guy from Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico or somewhere, and the guy was a part-time boxer, part-time hairdresser. And I don't think he looked sensational. Verdejo didn't look sensational in that fight. And this is a guy whose boxing is not even his full income. You know what I'm saying? He's doing other things. And it's just, I never really seen it after a while. And then he had a major setback with the motorcycle accident. Then he disappeared from the limelight. So it's disappointing because a lot of people had high hopes. I thought I seen some good skill. And I'm not saying he doesn't have skill, but even like industry pugilists and writers and stuff, they're saying Felix Verdejo could carry the torch for Puerto Rico, right? He could be the next Félix Trinidad. They both have the same first name and shit, right? But it doesn't look like he's going to be the next Miguel Cotto at this moment. You know what I mean? Maybe he could bounce back, but this is going to be a heartbreaking loss, and it's going to take something away because speaking of Cotto, this fight reminded me of Cotto versus Antonio Margarito. It's a Puerto Rican fighter versus a Mexican fighter, but not just for that reason. The Mexican fighter seemed to be very strong, seemed to be very tall, and put you in a brutal force type of fight where their pressure started to amount. And like I said, whoever is handling Felix Verdejo, they did a disservice to him, putting him in a fight that just from the box rec, the eye test, looked to be a difficult fight coming off a 13-month layoff. Listen, this is why Keith Thurman didn't want to fight Jesse Vargas. This is why Keith Thurman says that he's not going to fight someone in the top 10. And people want to see him fight Errol Spence, but it's acceptable that he took 2 fights with Porter and Danny Garcia, 2 tough fights, and then now he's fighting somebody for a reason like this. You don't want to come off of surgery or come off a long layoff. It's the people that I've seen that had a problem with Keith Thurman. It's not that he's fighting a tune-up, it's that it doesn't seem like he wants to fight Errol Spence. So, I mean, you got to do what's right for your fighter. This was even though Antonio Lozada Jr. was not a big name, so maybe they didn't expect the upset, you could just look on paper and see this is probably not the guy you want to come back to fight. You know what I mean? A guy who's taller, who's like 5'10", 5'10 and a half. A guy who has an 80% knockout ratio, and your man survived a motorcycle accident where it left him unable to probably train and stuff like that. And then he's been out of the ring for 13 months. And even before he got in the motorcycle accident, some of his performances had subsided. Like he wasn't looking as sensational. Very unfortunate, major setback. That's my post-fight breakdown. Not much to break down. The fight was kind of a tooth and nail, back and forth. Antonio Lozada was able to knock him down, clip him in the 10th round. He got back up, still hurt, took some big shots. Referee stopped it. End of nice stoppage. It was just overall a rugged fight. Look at Felix Verdejo's eye. Just wasn't a good fight to come back to. But I mean, what's done is done. Fight was stopped at 2 minutes and 37 seconds in the final round. But he might have even lost the scorecard because I had to kind of peruse through a couple of the rounds because I was late to the party. But I did see how it punctuated in other rounds. Major setback and disappointing because, like I said, Vasyl Lomachenko, his amateur style has turned pro and he's been successful. Lomachenko has almost over 400 when you look at his total amateur pedigree. And as an amateur, he fought Felix Verdejo. And he's on record saying that Felix Verdejo was his toughest challenge as an amateur. And that's big props from a guy as good as Lomachenko. So to see him get upset by a guy that, you know what I mean, the world didn't know, that just kind of sucks. It sucks for his career. So it's a major setback. He's going to have to go back to the basics. But shout out to Lozada. I mean, he did his thing. He stepped up. A guy, that's why we love boxing. You know what I mean? Guy with 2 losses. Guy who's overlooked. That's why y'all got to watch as fans who you call bums. And just because you haven't heard of a guy, I don't mean he's a bum and all that. That's what people always want to say. because this is a guy with 2 losses, right? One by stoppage, that just upset a 2012 Olympian that was being praised by Top Rank, being praised by others, considered the next Felix Tito Trinidad. And shout out to Lozada. He said, I felt I was hurting him with every punch that I landed, even my jab. So he didn't look hurt. So shout out to Lozada. Let me know what's next for Felix Verdejo. Lightweight, you know what I mean? Even performances like Robert Easter Jr. and Javier Fortuna, you still got to give it up to some people. Like, oh, Easter Jr. should have lost that fight, but he didn't get stopped by Javier Fortuna, a guy moving up. You know what I mean? So lightweight, there's some action. You know what I mean? People were entertaining the idea of Lomachenko or Mikey Garcia, Jorge Linares, and Felix Verdejo, Terry Flanagan. Maybe those top level fights weren't in the cards for Verdejo. If you can't get past Lozada, I don't see how you're going to get past Lomachenko or Mikey Garcia. Just my opinion. Let me know what you guys think. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure you smash the like button as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button. And you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.